For a small payment, I can clear your soul and ensure you reach your full potential. That sounded creepy, and kind of like they were going to perform an exorcism. Looking to trade my canoe for a shark. Must not be full-grown or have lasers on its head. Sure. Right person sought for a personal deal. Will require at least 1 year of involvement. Compensation promised. Well, that was lacking the usual absurdity. Or details. Hayden's thumb hovered over the link, the sound of her faucet dripping in her kitchen reaching her ears. The super ignored her complaints, and she had no cash herself to fix it. Compensation promised sounded pretty heavenly. She clicked the link. The message made her roll her eyes. What a waste of time. Looking for a woman who is discreet and reliable and interested in a long-term commitment, 1 year minimum. Person sought to fulfill all legal requirements necessary for a valid marriage within the state of New York. Compensation will be more than reasonable and only payable once all components of deal are completed. However, upon confirmation of the agreement, a smaller payment will be given as a show of good faith. 1. A small payment before generous compensation? Was that a joke? 2. This was clearly utter crap. No one would seriously want a fake marriage and offer money. God, Hayden loved Craigslist. This was better than the goat. Or maybe it wasn't crap. Maybe someone needed a green card? Though with whatever money this was, if it were as generous as this person was hinting, Hayden would be able to afford the goat. She laughed at herself, switched her phone off, and dumped it next to her bed. 2 hours of sleep? Here she came. All it took was 5 minutes of being in the hospital building for Hayden to walk into a doorway. She'd love to blame her tiredness, but it was an almost daily occurrence. Really, it was a good week if she managed to have a solitary bruise rather than several. And this one was definitely going to bruise. Rolling her eyes at herself, she rubbed the spot on her elbow. Seriously, ow. Whoever called it a funny bone could go to hell. Once upon a time, in a different life, Hayden had studied so much anatomy her head had been left spinning with it all. You'd think it would have left her more aware of her body, but still she walked into anything and everything. People would be surprised how many parts of the body they could live without. There were 26 bones in your foot, and the 52 that made up both feet consisted of 25% of all the bones in the human body. People could lose up to 2 liters of blood before death, sometimes a little more. But really, they hit shock before that. As an emergency nurse, Hayden saw a lot of that. Like, a lot. The lights in the locker room were dim. It was barely 7, and handover was about to start. She needed to wake up so she'd be able to take in the huge info dump about the patients soon to be in her care. Other people stood around, as bleary-looking as Hayden felt, pulling on scrubs and stuffing their pockets with flashlights, swabs, and anything else they usually needed. Someone laughed, and Hayden flinched. Who were these people that could function enough to laugh in the morning? You look like hell. Hayden sighed, smiling despite herself. Bloody loose. Thanks, that's just what a person likes to hear in the morning. Blowing their bangs out of their eyes, Luce shrugged. Yeah, well, I live for truth. Well, that was true. They were the most honest person Hayden knew. Some might say tactless, but once you got to know them, you realized it was a love for a lack of bullshit. Once, over beers, Luce had made a joke that they'd spent the first 25 years of their life bullshitting their gender, and had used up all the bullshit they had to give. Hayden had choked on her beer as Luce had thrown their arms wide, declaring, "Look at all the shits I do not give. Alas, my non-binary field of shits is barren." The bartender had cut the both of them off after that. I wouldn't have you any other way. Ready for handover? Luce's shoulders slumped. Ugh, yes, I suppose. Hayden bumped her arm against her best friend's. We can find coffee if we manage a break. Maybe at the cart with that cute coffee girl. Luce brightened considerably, a sly grin curling their lips up. Well, if I must. Oh, you must. For me. They sighed theatrically and pushed the double doors open to the emergency room. It was blissfully quiet, a rare thing. You know, you really are selfish, but fine. For you, I shall. You could just ask her out. Don't be silly. I have to stare wistfully at her for at least another 6 months. Ah, yes, of course. The time-honored tradition of drooling from afar. Hayden had that down pat. She had some courage, and could have...